It's me, Opinions by Mike, and today I'm going to be talking about why I think Sam Darnold is going to sign with the LA Rams this offseason as a free agent. So I just think this makes way too much sense. For one, the Minnesota Vikings won't, and I think they can't resign him even if they wanted to. In terms of quarterbacks, they have J.J. McCarthy, and I think they're going to sign Daniel Jones to be their backup. And the thing with JJ is that you kind of have to play him next year because you drafted him in the first round, and they actually traded up to draft him as well. So they just have too much capital invested in JJ, and therefore they have to start him next year if he's healthy. So I don't think they will re-sign Sam Darnold to a long-term contract, and therefore I think Sam Darnold's going to leave Minnesota as a free agent. But Sam Darnold is one of those people who should know how important the situation in coaching is, rather than, for example, just taking the team that offers the most money. For example, on the Vikings, he has amazing weapons in JJ, as in Justin Jefferson. He has Jordan Addison, and even like TJ Hawkinson at the tight end position, right? And then for San Francisco, even though he barely played, they had pretty good wide receivers like Deebo Samuel and Brandon Ayuk. But the most important thing also in terms of these teams are not only the fact that they had weapons, but they also had amazing coaching, right? I mean, in San Francisco, he had Kyle Shanahan, right? And he talked a lot about how he learned to study the game of football under Shanahan. And then at the Vikings, he had Kevin O'Connell, the quarterback whisperer, right? And as you can see, this clearly made a difference in how he played. And this is in contrast to his experience from the Jets and Panthers, where, not only did they not have the proper weapons from him, but the coaches were also, not up to that standard, and therefore, his performance suffered. So I think Sam Darnold is really aware of this, and therefore he's probably going to want to pick a spot where he's in a position to succeed. And therefore, I'm just going to quickly go through all the NFL teams to see, their situation, and also whether they can realistically sign him. And I'm only going to go through the teams that have issues at quarterback. I'm not going to talk about, for example, the Bills, who are clearly going to stick with their QB1 and Josh Allen. I do think Aaron Rodgers will stay with the Jets for one more year, and they'll run it back with Devontae Adams. In terms of the Cleveland Browns, I don't think going with Darnold is the right way to go. I think they should draft a rookie or just stay with Deshaun Watson for another year and just see out his contract. I think the Steelers will likely stick with Russ, and if anything, they're going to go with Justin Fields. Titans, I think, are going to draft a quarterback in the first round, if anything, because clearly Will Levis isn't the answer. Or I could also see them going an alternative route and signing a veteran, kind of like a Jameis Winston, or even like a Kirk Cousins, for example. I also do think Titans are going to sign T. Higgins over the offseason to a pretty big contract because they need a wide receiver one, and T. Higgins has that connection with Brian Callahan, their head coach from their time in Cincinnati. The Raiders are going to draft the quarterback at one. They're likely going to draft Shedeur just because, Shedeur wants to play for the Raiders, and also Tom Brady, who has a connection with Shedeur, is also part of the decision-making process now in Las Vegas. Do I think Shedeur is the number one overall pick kind of talent? Not really, but I do understand the hype behind it, and that is something that will definitely excite the Raiders fan base, which they desperately need. I also think the Raiders should clean house and get rid of their coach, but that's just a whole nother story. The Giants as well, I think, will draft a quarterback, probably Cam Ward from Miami. The Falcons have Michael Penix Jr. now. Panthers, I think they stick with Bryce Young. He's been looking really solid ever since he got benched and restarted. The Saints, I think, either stick with Derek Carr or they go with Spencer Rattler to see what they have in him. And the Seahawks, I know they have Geno Smith, but I can also see them drafting, for example, Jalen Milroe, right? Because that's around the 20 spot is where they fall in the draft, and that's probably where Jalen Milroe might go. And the Seahawks, with Geno Smith's aging and a new regime, I can see them wanting to go in a different direction and getting a new quarterback. And I think Jalen Milroe would fit quite well there. But that leaves me with the one situation where I think Darnold would fit the best, which is in the Los Angeles Rams. So the Rams are quite similar to the Minnesota Vikings in terms of situation. They both have two top wide receivers, right? So the Rams have Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. Right, this is similar to Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison in Minnesota. And I think the Rams are going to draft a tight end in the first round to give, the offense another weapon. So this would be similar to like TJ Hawkinson in Minnesota. And so the Rams are built to win right now too on the defensive, Jared Verse, and their team is looking good. But Stafford is getting up there in age, and it seems like he's probably going to retire soon. So I think the Rams are going to want to have a succession plan in place so that way they're not caught off guard or have to go through a couple years where they have two top wide receivers but not have a quarterback that can throw to them. And therefore I think Darnold would fit perfectly in this situation. Sean McVay is also an amazing coach. He comes from the same coaching tree as Kyle Shanahan from San Francisco, and also Kevin O'Connell, right? Kevin O'Connell used to actually be under McVay's staff. So I think that coaching fit is also great and exactly what Sam Darnold is looking for. I mean, remember a couple years back when the Rams signed Baker Mayfield and made him look good? Like, just imagine what they could do with like a reinvented Sam Darnold. My guess is that Sam Darnold is probably going to sign a contract somewhere similar to like a 3-year, $135 million deal. So this is an average of about $45 million per year. And I think this is fair for Sam Darnold. I don't think he'll sign for 50 plus mil just after 1 year of good play. But I was originally thinking something like 4-year 160, but that's what Daniel Jones got. So let's be honest, he's going to get more money per year than Daniel Jones. So I'm thinking about 45 mil per year on a 3-year deal. I think, and then the first 2 years will probably be guaranteed, and then the third year will be probably non-guaranteed. And I'm just so happy for Sam Darnold because it really shows that everyone has their own unique journey to success, in all facets of life. And that even though it might take longer for some, right? For example, Sam Darnold didn't get good until his 7th or 8th year in the league. It doesn't really matter at the end of the day because, the path you take to success is irrelevant, but the fact that you're there in the end is what really matters. And I'm sure he'll tell you this too, that his time with the Jets and Panthers, as difficult as it was, likely taught him a lot and, helped shape who he is today. And I don't think he regrets that time there because I really do believe it helped shape who he is and help him, learn things like resilience and grit and how to overcome tough situations. The only issue is that Matthew Stafford, his contract though, he still has 2 years left on his deal. And according to SpotTrack, which is one of my favorite websites, if the Rams cut him, they have about a $50 million dead cap. Now, this is potentially manageable. For example, this could be designated as a post-June 1st cut, and therefore they could spread it over 2 years, right? So that would be approximately, say, even if you divide it in half, $25 million a year, which is not too bad when you consider, how much dead cap the Broncos are taking and the fact that they're still, 9-6. Matthew Stafford could also potentially retire this year and, void his money for the remaining of his contract. And I know that's tough to say given the fact that he's probably going to be getting close to $60 million over the next 2 years. But Matthew Stafford, his career earnings is extremely high. He's made about $360 million in his career, which is, very good. So if there's anyone who's able to walk away from $60 million and that so he could spend more time, with his 4 daughters, it would probably be him, especially since, during his time in Detroit, he took a lot of hits, and therefore, he's probably thinking about longevity in terms of his life, rather than, for example, trying to extend his career just for some extra money that he will never be able to spend anyways. But I think the Rams just have to sign Sam Darnold this year because I don't think any quarterback in the draft will be good enough for where they pick. And if you look at the other quarterbacks that are going to be free agents this year, the crop is not that good, right? Like Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Jacoby Brissett, Taylor Heineke, Drew Lock, Jared Stidham, Joe Flacco, Jameis Winston, Mac Jones, these are all backups. There's no true QB that is starter potential in the NFL that will be a free agent. And let's be honest, when does a quarterback like Sam Darnold ever hit the open market, right? Usually they get franchise tagged or something, which I don't think the Vikings will do because, like I said, they're going to have to stick with JJ. So this is a once in a very rare opportunity. So I don't want to say once in a lifetime, but this is a very rare opportunity for the Rams to, have a QB succession plan in place and start, while it's still early and not be, left hanging when Matthew Stafford suddenly decides to hang up his cleats. And that's all I have for today. Thank you so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed.